Imagine this. You wake up and for a brief second, the world is still. There's no noise, no responsibility, no pressure, just silence. But then it hits you, like a freight train of reality. That same dull ache in your chest, the weight of everything you said you'd do but didn't. The book you were supposed to write, the business you never started, the healthier body you keep putting off, and worst of all, the person you were supposed to become, slipping further and further away each morning you hit snooze. It's not just a missed alarm, it's a missed life. Brian from Austin knows this feeling all too well. For years, he lived in a holding pattern, trapped between potential and action. Every day he swore tomorrow would be different. Every night he fell asleep haunted by the echo of promises he never kept. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't broken, he was just waiting. Waiting for a spark, a breakthrough, a reason to move, but nothing ever came. Because it never does. Here's the truth that most people will never say out loud. No one is coming to save you. Let that sink in. There is no cavalry, no mentor riding in to shake you awake, no magic moment that makes everything clear. That phone, call, that opportunity, that push you're hoping for, it's not on its way. And the longer you wait, the further you fall behind. Life doesn't pause because you're unsure. It doesn't wait for your readiness. It just keeps going. And if you don't rise now, you may never rise at all. That's the wake-up call you've been avoiding. And I get it. This kind of truth is uncomfortable. It's easier to pretend the system failed you, that you weren't given the right tools, that your environment is to blame. But Stoicism strips away those illusions. It hands you the mirror and says, look, it's you. You are the only obstacle, and you are the only solution. In a world addicted to blame, this message is radical and liberating. Because if you caused it, you can change it. If you're the problem, then you're also the power. But that power, it demands something from you. It demands ownership. It demands action. That's why Brian's life didn't change until the day he stopped waiting. He wrote down 5 words on a sticky note and slapped it on his bathroom mirror. No one is coming. Move now. That single act, repeated every morning, reminded him of something vital. Your dreams are no one else's responsibility. He started small. A walk around the block, 1 email a day, 10 minutes of focused work before anything else. And slowly, he began to wake up. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. He wasn't waiting anymore. He was building. You might not see the chains holding you back, but they're there. Invisible ropes made of delay, doubt, and distraction. The only way to break free is to act. Now. Before comfort seduces you again. Before excuses take root. So, let me ask you something real. When your alarm rings tomorrow, who will you be? The version of yourself that rises, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary? Or the version that rolls over and lets another day slip away? If this message is hitting something deep, if it's stirring something inside you, don't. Let it fade. Subscribe to this channel. Not because I want a number, but because I want to keep giving you truth. Hard, raw, transformative truth that challenges you to rise. Your support makes these videos possible, and maybe, just maybe, one of them will be the spark you needed, the one that made you finally move. Now let me ask you a question. Comment below your answer. I want to see what kind of person you are. Question: you wake up tomorrow at 6 a.m. You feel tired. The bed is warm. What do you do? A. Get up instantly. No thoughts, no excuses. B. Stay in bed for just 5 more minutes. Drop your answer in the comments. A or B. The first battle of your day is the most important one. It's not your meeting at work, not the bills waiting on the counter, and it's definitely not your overloaded inbox. No, the real war begins the moment your alarm sounds, and most people lose before they even open their eyes. Lena from Chicago used to lose that battle every single morning. Her days began in chaos, her mind fogged with guilt before her feet even touched the ground. She had dreams, a plan to start a wellness blog, to build a life on her own terms, but every day began the same. Hit snooze, check her phone, scroll through highlights of other people's lives. By the time she got up, her momentum was gone, her energy drained by comparison and distraction. She didn't realize it at the time, but she was teaching herself defeat before the day had even started. And she wasn't alone. Most people underestimate the power of the morning. They treat it like a warm-up, when in fact, it's the main event. Stoicism teaches us that the first hour of the day reveals your deepest character. That hour is either a declaration of discipline or a surrender to chaos. If you give in to laziness, if you let comfort win, then the rest of the day will follow suit. But if you take charge, if you rise with intention, you've already won before the world even gets a chance to test you. Lena's transformation didn't start with some massive life overhaul. It started with a rule: no phone for the first 30 minutes. That tiny act created space to think, breathe, move with purpose. She added a glass of water, then 5 minutes of stretching. A list of 3 clear, achievable actions for the day. These were not grand gestures, but they were deliberate, they were sacred, and they were hers. What you do in the morning is not just a routine, it's a ritual, a commitment to yourself before the noise of the world drowns you out. If you don't set your own tone, someone else will. And more often than not, the world sets it with anxiety, urgency, and distraction. The Stoics understood this long before the digital age. Marcus Aurelius didn't have an iPhone, but he faced the same battle. Each morning, he reminded himself, "I rise to do the work of a human being." Not because he felt like it, not because he had nothing better to do, but because he understood that waking up with purpose was the foundation of self-mastery. You don't need to be a philosopher or an emperor to apply the same principle. You just need the will to reclaim your mornings, the courage to say, before I give my energy to the world, I'll give it to myself. Try this. Tomorrow morning, before anything else, write down 3 things you will accomplish today. Keep them simple, but intentional. This is your victory list, not a to-do list, a declaration, a statement of control. You are not drifting, you are driving, because that's what rising with intention really means. It means moving deliberately. When the world wants you passive, it means choosing clarity over chaos, presence over panic. It means designing your day from the inside out. Most people float through their mornings. They rush, they react, they stumble, and they wonder why their lives feel the same. But your life is not something you find, it's something you build. And the first bricks are laid before the sun has even risen. So I ask you, how do you begin your day? Are you stumbling toward survival or stepping into sovereignty? Your morning is not the warm-up. It is the proving ground. What you do with it writes the story of your life, 1 page at a time, and the pen is already in your hand. Some days, your mind becomes your greatest enemy. That's what Jordan discovered, alone in his Denver apartment, staring at the blinking cursor on his laptop. He had a deadline, a big one, a project he'd dreamed of completing for months. And yet, there he sat, paralyzed by nothing but his own mood. His body was healthy, his schedule clear, the opportunity was in front of him, but something inside whispered, "Not today." He was tired, uninspired, unfocused. And so, once again, he closed the laptop and opened his phone. How many of us live like this? Waiting to feel ready before we act, hoping for motivation to strike like lightning, avoiding effort because the emotional weather inside us isn't quite right. But feelings lie. And the longer you wait for them to align with your goals, the more your potential slips through your fingers. Stoicism teaches us something different, something deeply uncomfortable and incredibly liberating. It teaches that your mood is not a compass. Your emotions are not commands, they're just passing clouds. And if you want to build something meaningful, you must learn to act regardless of how you feel. Jordan didn't understand this at first. He thought discipline was something you built on the good days. When energy was high, the air felt clear and inspiration flowed. But those days were rare, and the more he chased them, the less progress he made. What changed everything for him was a single phrase he read in a Stoic journal: "Don't wait to feel ready, act as though you already are." So he started doing something radical. He worked through boredom. He wrote when the words came slowly. He exercised when he didn't want to move. He trained his mind to obey intention, not emotion. You have to understand something vital. Your brain is designed to protect you from discomfort. It wants ease, safety, reward, especially instant reward. That's why dopamine spikes from distractions feel so seductive. That's why checking your phone, eating something sweet, or watching another video feels better than facing silence and struggle. But comfort is not your friend, and your mind, if left untrained, will trade your dreams for fleeting pleasure, every single time. To counter this, Jordan created what he called an emotion audit. Every morning, before opening his inbox or touching his phone, he wrote down 3 emotions he was feeling. Some days it was tired, annoyed, restless. Other days, bored, anxious, indifferent. But he didn't stop there. For each emotion, he asked himself, is this fact or just a feeling? And what would the person I want to become do anyway? That final question was everything. Because discipline isn't about ignoring your feelings, it's about honoring your future self more than your current mood. It's remembering that the person you want to become isn't born from comfort, but from consistency. And consistency means showing up again and again, no matter how you feel. You don't need more motivation. You don't need a better playlist or a cleaner workspace or a viral quote to push you into action. What you need is a new relationship with discomfort. One that says, I don't need to feel good to do what's good. I don't need to feel strong to be strong. I just need to move. Every time you choose action over emotion, you send a signal to your brain, I am in control. You rewire it slowly, consistently, powerfully. And over time, your baseline changes. The resistance fades. The discipline becomes second nature. Jordan's life didn't transform overnight, but within 3 months, he had completed that long-dreaded project, rebuilt his schedule, and, most importantly, felt proud of himself in a way he never had before. Not because he felt great every day, but because he stopped letting his feelings dictate his actions. That's what Stoicism offers. Not empty toughness, but clarity. The clarity to see that feelings are temporary and purpose is permanent. That success doesn't belong to the most talented or the most inspired. It belongs to those who show up even when they don't feel like it. So the next time your body says, not today, and your mind echoes back, maybe tomorrow, I want you to stop and ask, who's really in charge here? Then act. Not because you feel like it, but because that's who you've chosen to become. Change doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. That's what Olivia in Seattle learned. She didn't wake up one day with a grand vision or a sudden jolt of inspiration. She just woke up tired. Tired of drifting, tired of saying, I'll start tomorrow. Tired of never following through. Life wasn't falling apart, but it wasn't coming together either. She felt like she was moving but never arriving, busy but not fulfilled. So one night she did something incredibly small. She wrote a single sentence in her journal. Today I showed up by. That was it. No pressure to be profound, no goals to hit, just one quiet acknowledgement that she had done something, anything, to resist the inertia pulling her backward. What started as a moment of reflection became a habit, and that habit became a turning point. We often believe that transformation requires a massive overhaul, that we need a total life reset, a radical change, a burst of motivation strong enough to carry us to some distant mountaintop. But Stoicism, in its quiet brilliance, teaches us otherwise. It teaches that greatness is built in the mundane, that the smallest repeated act, when aligned with virtue and purpose, can reshape your identity and redefine your future. Olivia didn't rewrite her entire life in a weekend. She just kept showing up. 1 page of reading, a 10-minute walk, turning off her phone an hour before bed. It wasn't glamorous, but it was consistent. and that consistency rewired her brain. Science backs it up. Your brain, specifically the basal ganglia, is built for pattern recognition. It doesn't ask whether the habit is helpful or harmful. It just reinforces what's repeated. That's why the same pathways that make scrolling Instagram feel effortless are the same ones that can make reflection, exercise, or discipline just as automatic, if you give them enough reps. But here's the part most people miss. Small habits don't just change your behavior, they change your identity. When Olivia wrote in her journal each night, she wasn't just tracking actions. She was affirming, I am someone who shows up. That identity shift is the foundation of lasting change. Because once your actions align with who you believe you are, you stop needing motivation. You start acting in harmony with yourself. The Stoics would call this living according to nature, being congruent with your highest self. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. Doing what is right, not just what is easy. Choosing progress over pleasure, clarity over chaos, one habit at a time. To help herself stay grounded, Olivia created a 30-day micro-shift plan. Nothing revolutionary, just one deliberate act each day, writing down 3 things she was grateful for, drinking water before coffee, saying no to something unimportant, calling someone she'd been meaning to reconnect with. Each action was a small rebellion against the version of her that stayed passive. And with every small win, her confidence grew. Not because the actions were huge, but because they were hers. Chosen, executed, owned. That's the key. Small habits only create massive shifts when they are driven by intention. Mindless repetition doesn't change you. Conscious consistency does. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters, again and again, until it becomes a part of who you are. There's a quiet kind of power in that. The kind of power that doesn't need applause. The kind of power that builds in the dark. In the early mornings, in the quiet nights, in the moments no one sees but you. Olivia is no longer tired, not because life is suddenly easy, but because she's anchored. Now, she knows who she is, and she knows that every time she honors those small commitments, she's not just managing her day, she's sculpting her destiny. So don't underestimate what looks small. Don't wait for the next big leap. Look instead for the next honest step. Then take it, repeat it, own it. Because the most profound changes begin with the smallest decision. Today, I showed up by purpose comes with a price tag, and it's always higher than you expect. Tyrell from Boston found this out the hard way. He had a dream to become a trauma nurse, to be the one person who stays calm when others panic, the one who could make life-saving decisions in moments that mattered. It wasn't just about the career, it was about becoming someone he could respect. But between his PS5 marathons, late-night scrolling, and weekend distractions, that version of himself remained out of reach. Every time he sat down to study, something pulled him away. It was never something urgent, just something easier. For a while, he convinced himself that he could have both, the comfort of today and the promise of tomorrow, that he could keep living a casual life and somehow arrive at a disciplined destination. But purpose doesn't work like that. Purpose doesn't bend for convenience. It demands sacrifice. One night, after another wasted evening of gaming and empty snacks, Tyrell stood in front of his bathroom mirror and didn't recognize himself. Not because he looked different, but because he felt hollow. The dream was still alive in his mind, but dying in his behavior. And that's when it hit him. If he didn't start paying the price now, he'd spend his life bankrupt in regret. So he did something radical. He deleted every social app from his phone. He boxed up his gaming console. He stopped going out on Fridays and started spending that time in a quiet corner of the Boston Public Library. For 90 days, he traded comfort for clarity, impulse for intention. And while his friends called it extreme, Tyrell started to feel something he hadn't felt in years: dignity. Sacrifice isn't punishment, it's precision. It's choosing the one thing that matters most over the 100 things that don't. It's cutting away the noise so you can hear your true self speak again. And that voice doesn't beg for comfort. It calls for courage. The world tells you that you can have it all. But Stoicism says otherwise. You cannot hold on to ease and also grasp excellence. You cannot live like everyone else and expect to end up somewhere different. Every choice is a trade, and the question is always the same. What are you willing to give up? The Stoics didn't fear sacrifice, they revered it. Marcus Aurelius wrote not about indulgence, but restraint. Epictetus, born a slave, understood, more than most, that freedom doesn't come from abundance, but from discipline. They knew that letting go isn't weakness. It's the clearest form of strength. Tyrell didn't just pass his exams. He passed through something deeper, a threshold of self-respect. And he's not alone. Behind every person you admire is a list of things they gave up. Late nights, cheap thrills, short-term praise. Because they knew that success isn't about what you gain. It's about what you're willing to lose. You might think your distractions are harmless, that your guilty pleasures are earned, but every indulgence has a cost, and it's usually paid in stolen potential. The time you lose doesn't come back. The momentum you kill doesn't restart on its own, and the longer you put off your sacrifice, the more painful it becomes. That's why the most important question you can ask yourself isn't, what do I want? It's, what am I willing to sacrifice to get it? Start small. Choose one comfort this week and let it go. Maybe it's an hour of screen time. Maybe it's a weekly habit that serves no purpose. Watch what happens to your focus, to your sense of control, to your self-worth. You'll discover, like Tyrell did, that the life you've always wanted isn't found through addition, but subtraction. In the end, sacrifice isn't the death of joy, it's the birthplace of meaning. Because when you let go of what distracts, you make room for what transforms. When you surrender what's easy, you earn what's exceptional. And the truth is, the person you're meant to become is already inside you, waiting for you to start paying the price. Maria from San Diego used to believe that life was happening to her, that her struggles were the result of a flawed system, difficult people, or bad luck. When things went wrong, she had explanations, good ones. Her boss was unfair, her friends were flaky, her family didn't understand her, and in some ways, she wasn't wrong. But here's what she eventually realized. No matter how valid her reasons were, they left her powerless. One evening, after another frustrating day where nothing seemed to go right, Maria sat on her small balcony with a notebook. She didn't intend to write anything deep. She just wanted to vent. But what came out shocked her. I am the common denominator in every part of my life. She stared at that sentence for a long time. It wasn't written in bitterness, it was written in clarity. Because something in her knew that if she had been part of creating the mess, then maybe she could be the one to clean it up. That night didn't fix everything, but it changed the direction of her life. Stoicism teaches exactly that. Responsibility is not a burden, it's a form of freedom. You cannot control the world, but you can control your response to it. And when you begin to take full ownership of that response, everything starts to shift. Maria didn't have some sudden transformation. She didn't quit her job the next morning or cut ties with everyone in her life. She started small. She set boundaries with one coworker who constantly drained her. She gave herself 30 minutes of deep focus every day. No distractions, no multitasking. She started tracking her actions, not just her feelings. And perhaps most importantly, she began asking herself one powerful question each night. Where did I step up today, and where did I hide? This wasn't an exercise in guilt. It was a practice of truth. And truth, as the Stoics believed, is the only path to a meaningful life. You cannot fake ownership. You either live it or you don't. And the consequences of each path are clear. If you take responsibility, you gain clarity, confidence, and power. If you don't, you get stuck, blaming, waiting, hoping someone else will fix it for you. But no one's coming. That's not bad news. It's your greatest opportunity. Because if no one's responsible for your life but you, then you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to beg for support. You get to begin now, wherever you are, with whatever you have. That's what Maria discovered. Her life didn't get easier, but it got clearer. And that clarity gave her momentum. She started a small online design business, not to prove anything to anyone else, but to prove something to herself, that she could build, that she could lead, that she could live on her own terms, not by default, but by design. Ownership doesn't mean perfection. It means refusing to live like a spectator in your own story. It means stepping out of the audience and onto the stage. It means saying, "This is my life, and I will not waste it waiting for someone else to give it meaning." So here's the challenge. Tonight, before you go to sleep, ask yourself the same questions Maria does. What did I take full ownership of today? Where did I avoid responsibility? And what will I do tomorrow to take it back? The answers won't always be easy, but they will always be honest. And that honesty is the start of everything. Because the world will always have noise, obstacles, and excuses. But none of that matters if you've already decided to act. You don't need more time. You don't need a better background, or a cleaner past, or a perfect plan. You just need to start. Now, this is your life, no one else's. You are not stuck. You are waiting. You are not lost. You are hesitating. You are not broken. You are unfinished. And the moment you take full responsibility for every part of your existence, your habits, your choices, your relationships, your future, is the moment everything begins to change. Own it, then act. Not someday, today. Looking back on the lives of Brian, Lena, Jordan, Olivia, Tyrell, and Maria, we don't just see 6 individuals, we see 6 moments of awakening. Each one of them started from the same place most of us do, stuck in cycles of hesitation, procrastination, and self-doubt. But what sets them apart isn't talent, luck, or privilege. What sets them apart is the decision to stop waiting and start owning. Brian faced the brutal truth that no one was coming to push him forward. He stopped postponing his life and took the first uncomfortable step toward building something of his own. Lena realized that how she began her morning determined who she would be for the rest of the day, and she reclaimed her time and attention. Jordan trained himself to stop following his feelings and started leading with discipline, proving that you don't need motivation, you need movement. Olivia chose to believe that showing up, even in the smallest ways, was the foundation of becoming someone she could respect. She learned that identity isn't born from breakthroughs, but from the rituals we repeat when no one is watching. Tyrell faced the painful trade-offs required for greatness, and finally understood that every excuse he made was stealing from the life he wanted to build. And Maria, perhaps the most profound transformation of them all, stopped waiting for someone else to take responsibility for her happiness. She picked up the pen and started rewriting her story, one hard truth at a time. Their stories are mirrors. They reflect the parts of us that want to rise, but hesitate. The parts that know we were meant for more, but are afraid to sacrifice what's easy. And most importantly, they remind us that greatness isn't granted. It's chosen. Every single day. So what's the lesson? It's simple, but it's not easy. Your life will not change until you change. Your mornings, your choices, your mindset, your discipline, they're all yours. No one can do it for you. And while the world may tempt you with shortcuts, comfort, and distractions, the path to fulfillment will always be paved with intentional action. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, and it still rings true today. What matters isn't how you feel, but what you do. You're not responsible for your past, but you are responsible for what you do next. So start. Start with something small. Start even if it feels ridiculous. Start before you feel ready, and then keep going. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be relentless. Now let's see where you stand. Here's your question. When you face a hard decision tomorrow, one that requires sacrifice, discipline, or courage, what will guide your action? A, my current emotions and how I feel in the moment. B, my long-term vision and the person I want to become. Comment your answer below, A or B, and explain why if you feel inspired. And now I want to hear from you. What part of this story spoke to you the most? Was it Brian's moment of realization? Olivia's quiet consistency? Maria's full accountability. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might be the exact push someone else needs. If this message moved you, if it challenged you, if it lit a fire inside you to rise, take control, and own your life, then don't leave without subscribing. Your support helps this channel grow, and more importantly, it fuels the kind of honest, empowering content we all need more of. This is just the beginning. The next chapter is yours to write.